Hello and welcome to our video on interpreting slope and intercept of a regression line. You remember that our equation for the regression line is y equals a plus bx, and the slope is b and the y-intercept is the a value. When we're trying to interpret what that actually means, because you'll need to, as well as find the slope and the intercept, you need to be able to write a sentence about what it means in real life. So we can say the slope estimates the average change. It's not the definite change, it's just the average value. So it could be an increase or a decrease in the response variable for each 1 unit of increase in the explanatory variable. All that means is for every, so this one is decreasing, it's going down. The change is the slope, 39.40, for every 1 unit. So this is going up by ones and it's years. So for every year, the value goes down $39.40, $3,940. That's what the slope means. I've written a report template for you here that you can just fill in. I'll highlight the bits you can fill in. On average, the response variable, we need to say on average at the start because it's the average change. We can't say it's the definite amount, but it's just on average. So always start your report on slope and y-intercept with the words on average. The response variable, so you fill in whatever it is. For this one, it is the price, because response variable is always on the y-axis. The response variable increases or decreases by the slope, which is b, so fill that in, for each, and then you write whatever the units are going up by in here. If it was going up by 5 years, 5, 10, 15, you would say it decreases by $3,940 every 5 years. So that's what the explanatory variable units means. Try an example here. The equation of a regression line that we've looked at before, the price of a second-hand car to be predicted from its age, is this equation here. It's written in the graph as well. Interpret the slope in terms of the variables price and age. Now I've rewritten it out in y equals form with a y and an x instead of the two variables, price and age. Completely up to you how you write it. And the way we would write that report, filling in our report template, is to start with on average, and then you fill in the response variable, which is price. You'll notice I've put the price of these cars because we're only talking about the cars that we've, or the data that we've collected for these cars. It might be completely different for a different set of cars a different set of data that we gather. So on average, the price of these cars decrease. I've chosen decrease from here because it is a negative slope here or here, negative 3,940. Decrease by, and then you put the amount of the slope in, 3,940. Don't put negative there again because you've already put the word decrease in. And then at the end, for each, and the units here of the explanatory variable, it's going up by 1 year at a time, so it's decreasing by this for each year. On average, the price of these cars decreases, would be better English, by $3,940 each year. Make sure you put the dollar sign in there and make sure you say for each unit. Having a look at the intercept. So we're going to do a very similar thing to interpret the intercept. the intercept estimates the average value, so again it's an average amount of the response variable when the explanatory variable equals 0. So we're looking at here where it equals 0, the response variable is along here. It equals 0 on the y-axis, and the intercept is here, and the intercept is 35,100. If you're looking at this equation, it would look like this. If you're looking at this equation, it would look like this. It's a number that's not multiplied by the explanatory variable. Really important to note this little note at the bottom here, that the y-intercept, interpreting the y-intercept can be a bit of a problem if x equals 0 is not within the range of the x values. So that means if you've got a scatter graph of prices of cars that looks something like that, and it starts up here at age 20 years, this is the lowest data point that we've got. It's difficult to try and interpret the y-intercept of any regression line that you draw. So you just need to be aware of that. Might be a question saying, is it appropriate to interpret this y-intercept or not for this set of data? This data we've got here starts, the lowest value is 1, which is small enough to be close enough to 0, so it's a good example to use for interpreting the y-intercept. That's all this note there means. Your report template for interpreting the y-intercept is, on average, I'll just highlight this one. On average, the value of the response variable when the explanatory variable is equal to 0 is, and then you just write the y-intercept, which is the a value. So you might need to do a bit of your own thinking to think about what it would mean when the explanatory variable is equal to 0, and write that in a sentence properly. So in this example, our y-intercept is 35,100. So we can say, again, on average, the price of these cars get there eventually. Yellow highlighter is what I want. There we go. On average, the price of these cars when new. So instead of putting when age is equal to 0, you need to put that into a sentence yourself and realize that it means when the cars are new. There might be some situations where you can't really put it into a sentence and you just write when the explanatory variable equals 0, but most of the time you should be able to put it into a sentence. When new was, and you just write out the y-intercept with the correct units, which is dollars for this example. Thanks for watching the video.